Hey guys, welcome back to some more reviews. The Explorer of Horror here, and welcome to the month of October. It's feeling so weird saying that because I've recorded this video way back in the past because, it was going to be a lot of movies I had to cover for this month. So I'm starting real early, and so, we're going to be kicking this off. Happy October. If all things go well, this should be uploaded October 1st. And if it's not, I apologize for that. It probably got chaotic along the way. But nevertheless, welcome to October. And of course, like I said before, I wanted to dedicate this month to the career of Wes Craven and talk about his films. Go through his entire filmography, at least mostly most of his films. I know that there's The Fireworks Woman, which is a fan favorite I've heard. I know that's one of his films he made. I'm not going to be covering that one because, I haven't seen it. Kind of don't want to see it. But I've heard of it. It's got a reputation to it. Maybe a handful of other ones where it's just like, I wanted to cover his non-horror stuff, but at the same time, we're in October. It would make sense to just cover the horror stuff. And maybe the horror adjacent, maybe things that are a bit more darker. So yeah, I'm gonna be covering the entire filmography of Wes Craven and dedication to him and tribute to him. My favorite horror film director, one of my top 5 favorite directors of all time. Big fan of his work. And if we're gonna be starting this off, we're starting it off with a banger. We are starting it off with 1972's The Last House on the Left. It rests on 13 acres of earth over the very center of hell. First of all, I want to say Arrow, wonderful Blu-ray. I watched it again the second time I think I've seen this on Blu-ray. The first time I seen this on Blu-ray, I want to say I watched it with a commentary track or something. Something happened to where I wasn't paying 100% attention to this movie. I was listening to a commentary or something. But this time around, no commentary. Watched the movie. And so I got to give a shout out to Arrow for this wonderful, wonderful Blu-ray. It looks fantastic. Maybe one day down the road they'll make a 4K. But honestly, I'm good with this. The features, the commentaries, the reversible art. To me, that's the perfect art. You just, you can't really get much better than this Blu-ray. It looks amazing, it sounds amazing, and it has a lot of features. It's pretty much the perfect thing you would want for this movie. And Last House on the Left, like I said, the 1972 film, which of course also here is the classic poster. I just wanted to show you guys what the other artwork looks like. I don't know what it is, but I really enjoy this poster. There's something so raw about it, so realistic about it, almost like a newspaper ad or something, which I really dig this poster. So I just want to show you guys that real quick. But Last House on the Left, 1972, gets a 5.9 on IMDb, and was the debut film of Wes Craven. And me and this movie go back, way back when I first started collecting horror movies. I might even still have it. I might have it like stowed away somewhere, but I think I might still have my old school DVD of Last House on the Left. But back when I was first getting into the horror genre and collecting it and doing videos on YouTube and everything, Last House on the Left was one of the DVDs I found. And it was one of the key horror films that got me into this genre and why I love this genre as much as I do today. It was a very important film for me. It was very effective. And to this day, even rewatching it, I still love this movie. I still think this is one of the best horror films out there. And I had some problems in the past with it, but honestly, those problems have kind of subsided. Particularly the comedic police scenes where the cops are the bumbling cops, the bumbling cops that, are idiots and can't catch up to the killers and No matter what they do, they can't do anything right. I used to hate that. I don't anymore. It's pretty fun to me. And I've really grown, as I've rewatched this movie several times now, I've really grown to just love this movie and everything it does. To get into the story is very simple. You have Mary. She's turned, I think, 17. And she's beginning to want to basically live life. Her and her friend Phyllis are going to go to this concert. This takes place, I think, in New York. And they're up in the countryside. And they're going down to the city, or up to the city, wherever they're at. And while they're up there, they run into Krug, played by David Hess, and his gang. And as the movie goes along, there's a lot of chaos. The girls get kidnapped, tortured, raped, killed. And at the end of the movie, the parents find out that the killers are in their house. And basically, the parents have to make a decision. Will they kill these people, or what are they going to do? And it basically does become a revenge movie after that. And that's essentially the story. Last House on the Left, this movie, just to me, it really is timeless, even though it definitely is a 70s film. Like, when you're watching it, you can tell it's the 70s. Everything from the music to the clothes to the way the film looks. However, I think the message is timeless. The idea of this girl just getting ready to start her life, just getting ready to get out there into the world and figure out what she's going to do, and her life is taken from her and stolen from her by these disgusting people. And the villains in this movie, I think why it's more entertaining to watch than, because I Spit on Your Grave is hard to watch. And this is tough to watch too, but I Spit on Your Grave, the characters are so despicable, so disgusting. The rape scenes are so graphic. Everything is so graphic and dark in that movie. Here, it is a bit graphic. You do see a little bit of violence, a little bit of gore and blood in this movie. You do see a rape scene. But I think that these characters are very... they're definitely not boring. They're definitely... You could argue over the top. You could argue that they're, maybe hamming it up a little bit. I don't see that, but the energy is definitely high from this group of killers here. And so it's a bit easier to watch because they're joking around. David Hess has great charisma, and so I think David Hess is really an actor that should have gotten way more roles than he did. And I think the thing is, at the time when this came out, which was a huge deal, this movie was a big, massive hit back in the day and influenced horror films ever since this. I mean, there were films all the way up into the 80s coming out that used the whole Last House title and tried to copy what this movie did. And at the time, for this to be a big deal, big hit film, there really weren't films out here doing what this movie was doing, pushing the limits. And what's crazy is this movie didn't push it nearly as far as the original script did. Because the original script of this movie is like violence, like pornographic violence type of stuff, where people are like, I think, cutting a wound or something, and pretty much pulling an August Underground mortem, where it's like they start doing something to the wound and like, I don't know, some crazy stuff. Apparently the original script to this movie was insane, and people were like saying, Wes, you might not want to go that far. There's a good story here, but don't go that far. We don't have to make it a porno with freaking blood and gore and shit. So Wes Craven was going all out with this movie, and I know, watching plenty of interviews, this is a film that he was able to finally kind of take the leash off, let himself loose. He lived a very strict lifestyle. No movies, no music, no card games, no dancing, no none of that. And so this was this movie that he described as being able to finally let go and just do something crazy and do something that will never be forgotten. And he wanted to go all out for this movie, which is understandable. I mean, this is his first movie. Didn't know anything about making films. Him and Sean S. Cunningham were making this movie for extremely cheap, guerrilla filmmaking style, shooting it wherever they could, whenever they could, and it just, a lot of things were against this movie. Time, budget, elements, weather, and dealing with the real forest, and people, I think, doing their own stunts, I'm pretty sure. And it was just a really crazy time. And it's, honestly, watching this movie back, it's so impressive what they were able to do with a low budget. It really is inspiring. Stuff like this on Dawn of the Dead and Evil Dead and Halloween are inspiration stories to show that you can pull off these movies and do some insane stuff. And the Blu-ray made it look even better. I mean, there are certain shots in this movie of a waterfall or a stream or just shots of nature that, in most cases, if not done right, could be just filler, like obvious filler, where it's boring. But it's not. It's a part. Everything is a part of the story. Everything in this movie I thought was nailed so much. From how realistic it looks, the effects for the time this movie came out, because back in 1972, nobody was doing special effects. We didn't have like Tom Savini and stuff like that doing effects at the time. And these people were just doing whatever they could, just figuring stuff out on the spot. And it really is an inspirational film. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is another example, where it's just these super low-budget movies from the 70s that had no CGI, that had no green screen, that had no effects crew, that had... Basically, the effects crew was whatever they could just find at a, general store, or whatever they could, fathom in their head at the time. Whatever they could just invent on the spot. And it's just really inspirational, man. It really is. I think more people need to go back when they're making low-budget movies nowadays and look at films from this time period and look at how they did it, how they pulled it off. Now, in some instances, it's terrible because, there's obviously the thing where real animals get killed on camera, which is not right. There are times where actors are harmed, which happened in this movie. And you know what? Hearing all the stories, I don't think how they treated the actresses was right. I really don't. I get what they had to do and why they were doing it, but it just doesn't make it right. They pretty much put these actresses through hell. And in some cases, I think they really got cut. They really got hurt. They obviously didn't have anything life-threatening to happen to them. But they were still hurt while making this movie. And the lead girl was absolutely emotionally scarred from this movie, Mary. Sandra Peabody. I don't think she ever did a movie after this. And hasn't done like interviews or anything. Has completely distanced herself from this movie. I don't agree with that. But with all that aside, I think for what they were able to do with this movie... There's just so many classic scenes. There's so many good dialogue scenes. And David Hess is such a commanding presence. He's such a looming figure. And he can both be hilarious and just make you hate him. He's got the abilities. And he's good in A House on the Edge of the Park as well. That's another great performance by David Hess. But he really didn't do many movies after these. I mean, this movie came out and people weren't ready for it. This was way ahead of its time. To be as public as it was. I mean, I don't even know at the time this was like Grindhouse era. Because Grindhouse, I think, came like later. This might be a product that Grindhouse picked up. But I don't know if this was back when Grindhouse was happening. Maybe it was. I don't know. But... yeah, I just think cause this movie got a lot of hate. People hated it, called it evil. Wes Craven had a lot of people hate him. And I think what it is when films like this come out, films that push the limits, films that say, hey, what hasn't been done before? Depicting a realistic murder. And I mean, there are certain scenes in this movie, rewatching it back, they're so intense. The murder of the Phyllis character is so intense, so well shot, so eerie and chilling. It is chilling to watch. It's because of the simplicity. Like, a lot of movies would have blood flying everywhere and heads getting cut off. This is just stabbing. And it's so brutal, so realistic, and so very, very hard to watch. I think another scene that's very, very effective and haunting is the rape scene and the aftermath. And I think just the amount of detail that Wes Craven put into the scene, it wasn't like, oh, they just kill her and that's it. But the scene of her being disgusted, just a look on her face after she's raped. And she may be alive, but, like, internally, she's dead. They've already killed her. She just isn't dead physically yet. It's such a powerful scene. It's such a just really, really well done scene for what they were going for. It really is one of the best horror moments ever of all time. It's extremely effective at just being bone chilling, and how she just walks out to the little pond and Krug just shoots her, and she just accepts it. She accepts that she's dead. It's a powerful, really powerful scene. And the ending's very satisfying. I mean, the family, the irony of the killer's right across the street is her parents' house. And they gotta go there and rest up for the night. And the family gets revenge. You got, dicks being bitten off, and you got people getting chainsawed and throats being slit. People blowing their brains out. Blow your brains out. Blow your brains out. It's insane. It's a very good ending. Very effective. And man, like I said, just going back to what I said before, thinking about the limitations, man, they had in front of them, I really, really appreciate this movie for what they were able to do at the time. And I think the ending's absolutely crazy and effective. Yeah, and I don't really hate the comedy in the movie anymore. I used to. I really did when I first seen it, as I was expecting the remake. Dark, serious, brooding, hard to watch, gut punch, and that's it. This one tries to keep it a bit more light. Like, okay, we'll give you this heavy scene, but then we'll kind of lighten things up a little bit. And I don't mind the comedy now. I don't think it's as terrible as I used to think. I think it's a charm to the movie. I love the music. I love the music by David Hess. This dude was, like, talented. Doing great music, vocals and all, playing instruments, great actor. I think for it being Wes Craven's first script, I think it's written fairly well. There may be a few issues here and there if I'm being picky, but I mean, for the first script he ever wrote, it's written pretty well. Yeah, I mean, Last House on the Left, you got great dialogue. Piss your pants. I said, piss your pants. Or, you must think we're stupid. No. We may be horny old pigs, but we're not stupid. I don't know, just a lot of great dialogue, memorable scenes. The ending is a great finale to the film. And I truly do think Last House on the Left is one of the best horror films out there. I'm going to give it a 4. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. It's a wonderful film. Definitely one of my favorite horror films. And I think it's pulled off extremely well. I think it ages perfectly. It doesn't age bad at all. It was interesting seeing where Wes Craven and Shaughnessy Cunningham began. And it all started here with Last House on the Left. But yeah, overall, 4 out of 5 from me. If you've seen Last House on the Left, comment down below your guys' thoughts on it. And yeah, what a wonderful debut for Wes Craven here. So yeah, that's my review for the 1972 classic Last House on the Left. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Explorer 4 is out. Happy October, guys.